This is the Louie Tee Network.
Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.
In the lab.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome. You are in the lab, and of course, I'm your host, Louie. Thank you for joining me. Divisional round weekend. We're now talking Sunday afternoon football, and my goodness, we got a couple of dandies on the horizon on Sunday. We start in the AFC, the 1 o'clock start. Steelers in their dramatic come from behind victory at Cincinnati, taking on the Denver Broncos. You've got your one-seeded Broncos coming off the bye. A little bit of turmoil to finish up the season at the quarterback position. Peyton Manning has been entrenched as the starting quarterback moving forward for the rest of this postseason, so we'll see how he fares. We'll talk Denver Broncos in a second. Let's talk about the 6th-seeded Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a very controversial win on Saturday night last week in Wild Card Weekend to get to this point, but it took a lot out of them. They put a lot on the line last week, and they didn't come out of that game unscathed. Ben Roethlisberger dealing with an injury to his shoulder. He's not going to be 100%. I don't think he's going to be as effective as they need him to be in order to win the football game. You look at the running back position, that was already banged up going into the postseason with D'Angelo Williams being injured in a Week 17 game versus the Cleveland Browns. Don't think he's going to be able to go, but I thought that the running backs that they had playing, they came up and played a really stellar game for them. I thought both Fitzgerald Toussaint and Jordan Tottenham both had good games. And together, I thought they gave the Steelers enough to keep them balanced offensively. In a really wet, nasty ball game, I thought the running backs were huge in that ball game for the Steelers. But this is a different animal. This is a different defense. And I don't know if those two are going to be able to carry the load the way that D'Angelo Williams would be able to. And he's banged up anyway. And even if he's able to play, still not going to be moving at the rate of speed that they would need him to be effective against that vaunted Denver Broncos defensive front. And also, wide receiver position, Antonio Brown, Tones, is banged up, coming off of that vicious hit he took from Vontaze Burfict at the end of that football game that we talked about, the aforementioned wild card weekend matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, he's in the concussion protocol. There was reports that he was fine and he was going to play. Then there were reports that he was still in the concussion protocol and he wouldn't be able to play. Really don't know what his situation is. If he plays, he'll be fine. If he doesn't, that's a damaging blow to a Steelers team that's already banged up on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, we know about this Steelers team. They're not very good defensively, but then again, the Denver Broncos haven't been great on offense either. So these two teams have met before. Just a couple of weeks ago, they met in Pittsburgh. The Denver Broncos were having their way with this Pittsburgh Steelers defense in the first half, putting up 27 points. But then they stalled out, didn't score a single point in the second half, ended up losing the football game as the Steelers roared back and won by a touchdown. So we've seen these two teams face off before, but I think this one could be vastly different because of the circumstances surrounding the two teams. This Steelers team looks nothing like the way they did a couple of weeks ago when these two teams met. No D'Angelo Williams potentially. Ben Roethlisberger is banged up, and Antonio Brown may not play. This is a totally different Pittsburgh Steelers outfit versus the Denver Broncos, who then were sporting Brock Osweiler at quarterback, now going to have the wily veteran and future Hall of Famer Peyton Manning under center. That could mean the world of difference when you're talking about being able to maintain a lead and seeing if they can come out victorious this time. I think if you're the Steelers, you got to keep this game low scoring. You got to give yourself a chance. It'd be nice. Peyton Manning was generous before when he was at quarterback for this Denver Broncos team, leading the league in interceptions for the longest amount of time. If you can force him to throw 1 or 2 interceptions, give yourself some short fields and convert and score some points, you got a legitimate chance of winning this game on the road in Denver, like you did some years ago when you went on a magical run to the postseason, or a Super Bowl, I should say, and won it all. So it's not impossible to do this, but it's going to take a lot from this defense. It's going to take a really Herculean effort from the offense as well, because Again, a lot of guys are banged up. Other guys are going to have to step up in the absence, potentially, of some of the big name players for the Steelers on the offensive side of football. For the Denver Broncos, look, come out, play your game defensively, get after an injured Ben Roethlisberger, try to lock down those receivers, especially if Antonio Brown's not out there. Now everybody's thrown off kilter. That's one less weapon you got to worry about, and you should be able to do some damage with the other guys that are left. And offensively, I think you really must go out and just do the little things. And I've talked about that with Peyton Manning. Don't try to go out and win. This isn't like the Indianapolis Colts teams of the past and where you had to carry the team and the defense wasn't good enough, so you knew you had to score 31 to even have a shot. This is a Denver Broncos defense that up until the final week of the season was leading the league in scoring defense. They were leading the league in rushing defense, passing defense. This team was number one all the way around the board. So if you're Peyton Manning in this offense, make the normal plays. Make the routine plays. Don't drop the football on 3rd and 5. Pick up the first down. Don't fumble if you're Emmanuel Sanders and you picked up 35 yards and let a guy strip you from behind and force a turnover. Do the little things. Do the small things that help you win football games. If you're the Denver Broncos, go out and execute. Take care of the football. A punt is just as good as a touchdown in this game. Well, no, it's not, but you get where I'm going with this. A punt is just as good as an incomplete pass on 3rd down because you don't want to give the Steelers a short field. Make them drive 80 yards for a touchdown. Against that defense, it's going to be a tough assignment with all of those guys banged up. Make them go the length of the field. Don't shorten the field for them by turning the football over and allowing them to have a short down and distance to get to the end zone. Make it tough on them. And from a defensive standpoint, stop the run. Do not let Fitzgerald, Toussaint, and Jordan Todman make the burden any less or lighter on Ben Roethlisberger in this game. Force Ben Roethlisberger to have to beat you with his banged up, injured right shoulder. Make him have to shoulder the burden of carrying this team to the AFC Championship game because the weight on that shoulder can't be lightened by these backs. So you're going to have a long day. And that's what those backs provided him with in Cincinnati. They provided him with an outlet. Guys that he can get the football to. Guys that can pick up some chunks for them. Take that away in this game, and you'll have a great shot of winning. I just don't like the situation for the Steelers. And they've been my dark horse team all season long. The team that nobody wants to play. I was one of those guys spitting that venom. But they're at the point now where they're running out of elite bodies to throw at teams. And there's no more Le'Veon Bell. There may not be any D'Angelo Williams. Ben Roethlisberger's banged up. There may be no Tones. They're running out of their elite guys at the wrong time, and the Denver Broncos are coming off a bye. They've had a chance to iron some things out. We've seen this story before. We've seen the Denver Broncos come off a bye and throw up all over themselves. This is not that time. I'm taking the Denver Broncos to extinguish the Pittsburgh Steelers, put them out of the postseason, and win this football game and move on to the AFC Championship game. Not going to be pretty, but it's going to be gritty and a W, 23-13. Denver Broncos get it done over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Move on to the afternoon capper of the weekend. And this is a dandy. This is the one we've all been waiting for. Man, oh man. This is the one I wanted. I wanted Seahawks. And I wanted Panthers, and I wanted to see it again. It was so nice the first time, I wanted to see it twice. I put it back in the VCR, yeah, I put it back in the VCR. I'm talking VHS. I put it back in the VCR, and I was so kind. I said, NFL, would you please do me honors and hit that rewind button? They said, I'm going to be kind and rewind. So they're going to give it to us again. And the Vikings tried to mess it up. I said, don't you come in here with that nonsense trying to mess up my playoff dream matchup. Get out of here with that nonsense. And so the football gods have spoken, and we have gotten our matchup. The 6-seeded Seattle Seahawks traveling to Carolina, the Bank of America Stadium, to take on the 1-seeded Carolina Panthers. And this is going to be an epic battle. Two defensive football teams throwing down in the middle of the field. It's going to be a bloodbath, and I can't wait. Bart Scott! Can't wait. And I look at it from the Seattle Seahawks perspective. This is a team that doesn't scare you offensively. And we don't know if Marshawn Lynch is going to play. Really, it doesn't matter at this point whether he plays or not because they've actually been more effective when he's been out of the lineup. But you got to think to yourself, if he's playing, they're a better football team. I mean, conventional wisdom says that, but they've struggled with him in the lineup this season, and you could argue that some of that had to do with some of the changes they had on the defensive side of football and some of the things that they were going through on that side of football more so than on the offensive side. But in any event, Russell Wilson has been dynamic this season. I think no play from last week exemplifies that more than the play where the ball is snapped past him, about 20 yards behind him. He calmly runs, scoops the football up, slides down, gets up, gets outside of the pressure and finds a wide open Tyler Lockett, who then proceeds to get down inside the 5-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. And to me, a signature play of the postseason for the Seattle Seahawks right now. And that's what Russell Wilson is as a football player. He is a creator. And if you give him opportunities to create, that's exactly what he's going to do. But this is the type of defense that takes those types of plays away. And I really like this matchup for the Carolina Panthers because I believe that them beating the Seattle Seahawks early in the season, I want to say it was week 6, was just a huge win for them. Psychologically, they needed to win that football game. They needed to conquer their demon. They needed to know that they were good enough to beat the Seattle Seahawks after losing to them 4 consecutive times. That win was instrumental in their success this season, and I think mentally it's put them in a different position. They think that they can beat anybody, and that includes the Seattle Seahawks team. And I know a lot of people are riding the Seahawks wave, and I think that game last week really brought a couple of people back down a few notches on this Seattle Seahawks team because they're like, man, they went to Minnesota and should have lost the football game but escaped because of a missed field goal. And to me, I'm saying, look, damn that. It was like -6 degrees in that football game. You know, you hear guys say cold is cold. No, that's a different type of cold, and that's going to affect the way you play football. And I thought that weather affected the Seattle Seahawks last week, but it's going to be a different ball game. I expect them to come out, be flying around the football field. This is not going to be for the faint of heart, and I expect this to be much more low scoring than it was up in Seattle earlier in the season. I don't think this is 28-23 or any 27-23 or anything like that. This is coming way down. We're talking 23 might be the max. The winning team might have 23 points. Matter of fact, that's going to be my final score. And so I think this is coming right down to the wire. I think this is going to be one of those knockdown, drag out, really slug them type of battles where the best team is going to win this football game. And that's going to be the Carolina Panthers. I see the Panthers coming in here with a healthy Jonathan Stewart, with MVP Cam Newton coming in here offensively, doing enough on the ground, and having some guys step up. And maybe it's Funches this week, stepping up and making some plays. Maybe it's Jericho Cottrell. Maybe it's Ted Ginn Jr. Somebody's going to step up, make a play late in the ball game to get them a crucial first down that extends them, gets the drive down into field goal range, and helps them win this game on a late field goal. And this time, they're not going to be benefited by a guy missing. Graham Gano is going to bang it home at the end. The Carolina Panthers are going to win this football game 23-20 over the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be an epic battle. And to me, the winner of this game, I'm not going to say that because I still feel like the Arizona Cardinals, when it's all said and done, probably could be going to the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. But I think the winner of this game is going to have a lot to say about that because you could easily see the winner of this game going to the Super Bowl. If Arizona isn't on their A game next week in the NFC Championship game, I can easily see the winner of this game taking it all the way. And so I like whoever comes out of the NFC to win the whole thing, period. But this is going to be a big game in deciding who is going to the Super Bowl in the NFC because I really like these two teams, but I think the Carolina Panthers have conquered their demons. And defensively, Josh Norman is playing great football. That defense, we know about those guys up front, K'Wan Short. I think he's coming into his own in the league. We know about the linebackers. This is a dangerous defense, and I think right now, with the confidence that they have as a football team and the fact that they've beaten this Seattle Seahawks team already this season, gives them enough ammunition to go into this game and get a W. I'm taking the Panthers, 23. That loss last year against San Francisco, or 2 years ago against San Francisco, and even the loss last year, this team is battle tested now. You got to go through the growing pains to get where you want to go in this league. You don't just show up overnight and think you're going to win a Super Bowl. It doesn't work that way. You put in the work, you take your lumps, and then you start giving out bumps. And now that the Panthers have taken their lumps the last 2 seasons, they're ready to give out bumps. And I think it's time for them to take that next step. Make it to the NFC Championship game and potentially make it to the Super Bowl. Those are my predictions and my analysis of the Saturday and Sunday games in the divisional round of the postseason. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down into and now, National Football League. Enjoy the football games. You know I will. Bart Scott. Can't wait.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie Tee, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.
Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.